In this video, we're going to talk about how to clamp down your knife in the vise and the sharpening motion. So step one to clamping down your knife is choosing the appropriate blade stop. For the small knives, you use large blade stop. For the medium knives, you'll use the medium blade stop. And for the large knives, you'll use the small blade stop. If your blade is more than an inch, you're going to want to use the smallest blade stop. And if you have something like this here, then you'll want to use the biggest blade stop. We're going to go ahead and use the practice knife that came with your kit to make it a little easier for you to follow along. So step one is to open up the vise here and select your blade stop. We're going to go ahead and use the medium blade stop for our practice knife here. You want the knife edge to sit about 5/8 of an inch up above the top of the vise there. Now, a lot of your knives are going to vary. If you're sharpening something that's very large, like maybe a cleaver, just use the smallest blade stop. Now we're going to clamp down the vise, and we want to make sure the belly is just in front of the back of the vise there. This is going to be a great starting point, and from there we can adjust as needed. To check and make sure that your knife is securely clamped in, put your fingers at the front and back and just give it a little push. You don't need to lift up the knife, but just give it a good wiggle to make sure it's there. Now we need to find the angle. We're going to talk a little bit more in a later video on how to find the sweet spot and the angle of your knife, but for now on this practice knife you can go ahead and set your angle slides to 20 degrees per side. Now the motion you're going to be doing is called an edge leading motion. Edge leading motion means it's down and away. Start at the very back of the knife with the very bottom of your stone at the heel. Fingers tucked, down and away, all the way into the bottom. As you perfect the movement, you're going to notice that your hand might not make it all the way to the end. That's okay. Just restart from that point at the very bottom of the stone and repeat the motion. Something like this. And just practice that a couple times on both hands. As you practice this, you'll be breaking in your stones. What I like to do when I get new stones to really help that break-in period is I'll flip over the stone halfway through my sharpening session, and that'll just ensure I get the entirety of the stone here. A good thing to note when you're practicing the edge leading motion is instead of thinking about what your hands are doing, imagine your wrists following an imaginary diagonal line all the way through, because that's all they're doing. Back and forth, back and forth. Remember, light pressure. Let the stones do the work. You don't need to push on that knife. For knives that are a little bit longer, using that edge leading walking motion will be a lot more effective, especially for a beginner. And as you get better, you'll be able to do it in one fell swoop. Which is fun to do, but absolutely not required. Now that you know how to clamp down your knife and have the basics to sharpening down, we're going to talk about finding the angle and the sweet spots in the next video. See you there.